live in interesting times. In Mali, opposition warns the government following a repressed protest. Pregnancy rotas add to Japan's working women's woes. Protesters march at the construction site of the U.S.-Mexico border wall. Pompeo says there is no daylight between the U.S., South Korea, and Japan on North Korea. U.S. vetoes a UN resolution on protecting Palestinians. President Trump says North Korea wants to denuclearize. Plus, the New York City annual Classic Street Games gets kids off the couches and onto the playgrounds. Hello everyone, I am Lynn Pence, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. The UN has called for calm in Mali after dozens of people were hurt during banned opposition protests in Bamako, sparkling calls for Prime Minister to resign 2 months ahead of president election. The opposition said more than 30 people were hospitalized, including prominent opposition figure Antonin Fabaka Sissoko, who was left in a coma after security forces fired live ammunition at protesters on Saturday.
Nous avons connu mars 91. Ça a commencé comme ça. On sait comment ça finit. Et s'il continue, ça va finir comme ça. Il faut les mettre en garde parce que certains ont été des acteurs, donc ils savent quel est le chemin de l'histoire. Il faut faire très attention. Depuis mars 91, on n'a pas connu une répression comme celle-ci.
The government rejected the claims outright. A source close to the security ministry told AFP it is absolutely false to say that shots were fired using live ammunition. Earlier Sunday, the ministry said the security forces were bound by 3 words: professionalism, courtesy, and firmness, and the police had acted to maintain public order. It denounced the protesters for having injured a policeman in the head. A transparency rally outside the party headquarters of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta attracted several hundred people. Police fired tear gas and beat demonstrators with batons, according to an AFP reporter at the scene. Clashes also took place in other locations. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who visited Mali last week, called late Saturday for calm and restraint by all parties. A UN statement said he calls on the Malian government to ensure the protection of fundamental human rights and freedom of expression to peaceful demonstrations, including in the context of ongoing state of emergency. Mali is one of the so-called G5 Sahel states, along with Burkina Faso, Chad, Mauritania, and Niger, which have launched joint cooperations against jihadist groups. Most protests are banned as the nation has lived under a near constant state of emergency since an attack on the hotel in Bamako in November 2015 left 20 people dead. Pregnancy rotas add to Japan working women's woes. Sayako had been trying to conceive a second child for 2 years when her boss at a Japanese daycare center suggested she stop because she had missed her turn. Sayako, who spoke using a pseudonym, learned her boss had an unwritten policy that experts say it is not an uncommon in Japan, an informal pregnancy rota for employees.
ね、今あなたできないだからちょっと一人子供もいることだし、2人目作るっていうのをちょっと休んでもいいんじゃないっていうふうに言われて、で周り
The 35-year-old said she was so shocked and stunned that she couldn't answer. Sayako's boss told her that an older newlywed at her workplace now had priority when it came to having children. She quit the job and moved to another daycare center, recently giving birth to her second child. Had Sayako stayed, she said she thinks she'd have said sorry instead of celebrating the birth of the baby. The issue of pregnancy rotas hit the headlines earlier this year when a man wrote about his wife's experience getting pregnant out of turn. In a letter to the Mainichi Shimbun newspaper, he said he and his wife had apologized to her boss at a nursery. The husband recounted the boss saying, "How dare you break the rules without asking?" The letter sparked a debate about the practice, which experts say is particularly prevalent in sectors that struggle to find and retain employees, like the daycare industry. It represents an intersection of 2 of Japan's most pressing social issues, a shrinking population and the struggle women face balancing a career and family.
仕事に専念させるあまり妊娠を待たせる、まさに妊娠順番性が持っている要素ですね。先延ばしにさせる、我慢させる、カップルに、女にじゃないです、男性にも女性にも、その向こうにいるパートナーもそうですね。待たせるということが出生力を下げるという、これはもう日本の社会の持っている根本的な問題です。
Protesters march at the construction site of the U.S.-Mexico border wall.
El presidente Trump y la administración del presidente Trump tienen un plan muy claro, que es implementar su agenda racista, antimigrante, a toda costa, sin importar que en este proceso se esté separando a familias, a niños de tan solo meses de sus mamás que llegan a nuestras fronteras pidiendo asilo, sin importar construir un muro que afectaría a las personas que viven aquí, a nuestra naturaleza que depende de cruzar para sobrevivir, sin importar de la vida de las personas, como fue el caso
de este muro.
Pues no solo el muro y lo que representa, que es odio y racismo, pero más bien y más específicamente a la militarización de la frontera, que viene en formas de más agentes de la patrulla fronteriza, de la migra, de ICE, que francamente están actuando ahorita con todo poder, matando a nuestra gente y también en forma de camas de detenciones para millones de inmigrantes en este país. Entonces no solo es el muro, sino lo que representa el muro.
Eso es. Más que nada, porque sabemos que este muro no va a parar a la gente que quiere un sueño aquí en Estados Unidos, que está determinado a crear una mejor vida y ayudar a sus familias, va a cruzar como sea. El muro, y Trump lo sabe, es algo ideológico, un símbolo del racismo, algo que él quiere promover para dejarles saber a la gente que no son invitados en este país, dejarles saber a los latinos y a los inmigrantes que no los queremos, más que nada.
Up next, Pompeo says there is no daylight between the U.S., South Korea, and Japan on North Korea. U.S. vetoes the UN resolution on protecting Palestinians. President Trump says North Korea wants to denuclearize. Eagle News, Washington, D.C., where we'll turn in a moment.
As Eagle Broadcasting Corporation marks its 50th year, it is conducting several activities under the theme EBC Cares, enabling a better community. Health and nutrition are key factors on child's learning and well-being. EBC's feeding program encourages the community to combat malnutrition among children and ensure them a healthy future. EBC's cleanup drive and citronella planting hopes to help the community in caring for environment and preventing diseases such as dengue. EBC's public service program, Paglilingkod sa Bayan, Serbisyo para sa Mamamayan, has opened its doors to government agencies so more people can avail of these services. EBC's blood donation program and medical mission continue to spearhead life-saving projects, and EBC's livelihood seminar teaches and guides those who want to have additional income and business. EBC Cares, serving the people in these interesting times.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon. Letters and Music, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 1:00 hanggang 2:00 ng hapon.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Thursday the United States, South Korea, and Japan were completely on the same page with respect to working towards North Korea's denuclearization.
Through these series of meetings, I'm confident we're moving in the right direction. Today, Vice Chairman Kim and I discussed how our countries could come together and take advantage of the unique opportunity that our two leaders have created through their visions of the future that they have so clearly articulated. It will take bold leadership from Chairman Kim Jong-un if we are able to seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change the course for the world. there is no daylight between the South Koreans, the Japanese, and the United States with respect to our approach to how we resolve this issue with respect to North Korea. Absolutely.
The United States vetoed on Friday an Arab-backed UN draft resolution calling for protection measures for the Palestinians that won backing from 10 countries at the Secretary Council. France, Russia, and China were among the countries that voted in favor of the draft put forward by Kuwait on behalf of Arab countries. 4 countries abstained. A draft resolution requires 9 votes to be adopted in the 15-member council and no veto from the 5 permanent members: Britain, China, France, Russia, and the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed Friday that his summit with North Korea leader Kim Jong-un would go ahead as originally planned on June 12 in Singapore after unprecedented Oval Office talks with a top envoy from Pyongyang. While admitting that dealing with North Korea was going to be a process, Trump said he believed that the process would ultimately be successful. Trump said the letter from Kim, hand-delivered by Kim Yong-ko, was very nice and very interesting without immediately disclosing its contents.
We're meeting with the chairman on June 12th, and I think it's probably going to be a very successful, ultimately a successful process. We had hundreds of new sanctions ready to go on. And he did not, the director did not ask, but I said I'm not going to put them on until such time as the talks break down. We have very significant sanctions on now, but we have hundreds that are ready to go. But I said I'm not going to, but why would I do that when we're talking so nicely?
That's next. The New York City annual Classic Street Games gets kids off couches and onto the playground. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon.
Whoever they are, and wherever they may be, they all have the same message. Mata ng Agila, Mondays through Fridays, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Only here at Net 25.
ASEAN in Focus, Monday to Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m.
I am here at Gastown, which is a National Historic Site in Vancouver, British Columbia. Located in Vancouver's oldest neighborhood is the steam-powered clock, which is Gastown's most famous landmark. Make sure to tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I am Lou Aquino, EBC correspondent, and I am 1 with 25.
This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I am Lynn Pence. The New York City annual Classic Street Games gets kids off couches and onto the playgrounds. EBC's Tenny Sumog with the story.
It's a beautiful day here in New York City, where the 11th annual Street Games are held at Thomas Jefferson Park.
Here in the East Harlem community, classic street games were introduced to kids of all ages, sponsored by the New York City Parks and Recreation and the Walt Disney Company.
So Street Games is an event where we try to get kids out from their couches playing video games and all that, modern technological stuff, and coming out and playing the games that their parents and grandparents played. Things like double dutch and hula hooping and wall ball and stickball. We've been doing street games now for over a decade with a long-standing sponsor, Disney. And each year we like to, maybe add a little bit of a modern twist to the event. This year we're incorporating skateboarding and learn to skate activity into the event. We have a brand new skate park in Thomas Jefferson Park that just opened. Thomas Jefferson Park here in East Harlem has been the home of street games for the last 10 years or so. And yeah, it's just a great day for people to come out and also learn that they don't need a lot of equipment to enjoy our parks or have a good time.
I am a native New Yorker, and I was very fortunate that at a young age I was able to find these alternative sport activities and create a life out of those activities. I traveled around the world as a competitive athlete, and now we're bringing it home where we're able to share now our passion with the youth. So it's very important to us personally that we're able to come back into these communities, engage with the youth, and share our love for these types of activities and give the kids opportunity and exposure to these types of activities that otherwise they wouldn't have had access to.
Wall ball, also known as handball, is a classic New York street game, which is cheap and fun.
There's about 2,000 handball courts in New York City alone. So if you walk down the block, there's a handball court, all you need is a ball and a wall. Handball is very good when it comes to hand-eye coordination, so it's a very good start for when kids want to play tennis and basketball, because hand-eye coordination is used in almost every sport that you play. So it's very important for kids to start off with handball. It's easy.
And who can forget about stickball? Similar to baseball, this classic iconic New York street game has roots dating back to as early as the 1930s.
This stickball's been around since like the 30s, 40s, 50s. Stickball itself is a simple sport, right? You don't need much. You need really your imagination, but just really a stick and a ball, right? At its core, it's a very simple game, and I love it because it just brings myself and my friends closer. I see them every single Sunday during the summer, and I enjoy that.
One of the newest and popular events was skating, as a skate park recently opened to the community.
This is my first time skateboarding. I like it because I guess it's easily accessible and you can go faster than walking.
I like it because it's not a dangerous thing, but you're still having fun. And you can do cool tricks and stuff. I play jumping ropes, double dutch, and roller skate. Which one was my favorite was the double dutch.
Why did you love double dutch?
Because it was fun, because you needed to hop like this.
As we can see, street games are the heart and soul of New York City. Today's generation are reintroduced to these classic games. Reporting from New York, I'm Tenny Sumagi, always 1 with 25.
My kids would love those for sure. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Lynn Pence and I am 1 with 25.